Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to do a video on how to solve the sorry, that's the wrong one. Tutorial on how to solve the what? Tutorial on how to solve the no. Tutorial on how to solve the oh my. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, the Cubing Bear, and today we're going to do a tutorial on how to solve our 5x5 Rubik's Cube. Now, I want to make this clear. I do highly recommend that you learn how to solve the 4x4 and the 3x3 before going on to the 5x5, since it has more layers and it has its own set of difficulty. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys like 3 seconds to go ahead and go there and learn how to solve these two before you learn how to solve this bad boy. I think that was enough time. So let's go ahead and get started to solve the 5x5 Rubik's Cube. Alright guys, so the cube is scrambled now. I hope your Rubik's 5x5 is also scrambled. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to be looking for when solving the 5x5 is our white center. Now thankfully this is an odd layer puzzle, so that means that unlike the 4x4, which doesn't have any centers, you have to actually make your own centers. With this one, it actually already gives us our centerpiece, so we don't have to be constantly looking at our solved Rubik's Cube in order to figure out what color we need. So that's a plus. So we're going to go ahead and go to our white center right here, and we're going to start creating the white center. And that's the first step of solving the 5x5. So we're going to look for these middle pieces right here. These ones and these. We don't concern ourselves with these ones yet. We just want to look for these two. And if you look around the cube, I can already see that there's one here. So if I move it down here, I have already created one of them. So I need to find this one now. Okay, so I see this one like this. If I move it down like this, then I'm not going to do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this side right here like this in order to put it down here. What I've created was a bar. So I'm going to go ahead and look around the cube now to find the rest of the pieces right here. And we're going to create these bars, essentially 1x3x3s. So I think it's called a 1x1x3. Yeah, 1x1x3 bars. And you're going to move it like this vertically so you're able to find your pieces, what you're looking for, without disturbing this. So you're going to want to constantly check your bars so that you don't have to, so that you're not messing it up while you're trying to solve. So you want to usually have your white side on the left so that you can move around pieces around here without having to hesitate. So I can already see an edge right here and a corner right here. Now I want to pair these two together, but if I move it up like that, then I won't do anything. So what you're going to do is you're going to move it up actually, and you're probably saying, Rico, it's not right there. Oh, I did do it. Okay, let me move that real quick because that's not what I wanted. So let's say that we have our piece like this. So what you're going to do is you're just going to move this side right here, and you're going to move it down so it aligns together. So I'm going to do that one more time. So you can see that the piece is like this, and you want to move it in there. So what you're going to do is you're going to move it up, and then you're going to move where it wants to go in the corner right here on the top slot, because this is on the top and this is on the top now. So when you move it down, they're both going to be on the top and they're going to align together. Now we have this piece right here, which is at the bottom. So it's going to go right here at the bottom. But ours is right here on the top corner, so it needs to go right here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna move the top face 2 times in order to get it up there. Once we move it down here, we have a bar. As you can see, we have our bar here, and we're just gonna align them together. So we've solved almost part of our white center. So let's go ahead and look around for another part right here. Okay, so I see one right here, and of course I'm going to align it up because that's how you always want to do it. You always want to do your centers up so that you have enough space to look around. Okay, so I see that this is on the top corner, and we know that our thing is right here on the top corner too, our edge piece. So if I move this down, I'm going to get it right there, and that's what we want to get. So let's look around for the last piece. Okay, so it's right here. Now I know if I go like this, then I'm going to ruin that thing I just did, and it's going to mess it up. So I know that it's going to be right here, and I know that there's a free space right here, and that's where I want my piece to go. So if you look at this, check this out. If you look at this and you move the front side 2 times, you can see that the empty space is going to end up at the place we want our white piece to go. Now I know that people won't be able to realize that, so you're just going to want to look at the piece and see that it's right here. It's going to always stay right here no matter how many times I move it around. It's always going to stay right there at that bottom corner. So I know that if I move this 2 times, that bottom corner is free, meaning I can move this down and it will create that bar that I'm looking for. And as we can see, we have this place is covered already, so we can't move it in there because we're moving this out of the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this twice, and we're going to put that in there. So what we've done essentially is that we've solved our first center, which is the white center. Now the next step is we're going to be solving the yellow center. And that's going to be a little bit tricky because we can't just put in our edge piece like that, because then that messes up our thingy, our white center. So what you're gonna do is, when you have a piece that you want to put in, like let's say I want to create another bar in the middle, so I can already see that this piece needs to go here. So I'm gonna move it there, and we can see that we've damaged this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna move this bar out of the way, so that when you move it down, it doesn't mess it up, and we still have our white center. So we've already created this, and now we're gonna go ahead and make sure that our white is on the left and our yellow is on the right, so that we can move this around as many times as we want. We can do this, we can do that, we can do whatever we want, and no matter what we do, we're not gonna mess this up or this, because it's not correlating with that layer. So let's go ahead and look around for another edge piece, because we want to make a bar. So, oh cool, look. Now remember from what we learned, if it's on the top corner and this is also on the top, you're gonna want to move it down so that they're aligned together. As you can see, that edge piece right here, it's gonna come up right here. But we learned that if we move this right here, we can see that this place is free, and we can align it together. So now here the tricky part is to put it back into here, because we know if we put it here, we're gonna mess this up, and we can't do that. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna move it up. As you can see, we moved this up and we've broken our center. And you can see that this place is free. Like, if I can move this around and I won't damage anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this twice to the place where this is. That way when we move it back down, we didn't damage anything, and we still have our 2 bars and our center done. So once you finish pairing up those two, we're going to go on and work on our last bar right here. So let's look around the cube. Remember, white on the left and yellow on the right. Let's go ahead and look around for our, oh wow, look at that. We have a 1 by 1 by 2 bar, and we want to fill in this last piece right here. So I can see right here that this one right here is going to be the piece that we want to put in. Now if I move it directly up, of course I put in another one, but this one still needs to be moved back. So what I can do is I can see that this is free, which is the bottom left corner, and this is on the bottom right corner. So knowing that, I can move this face until it's reached the bottom left corner, and then I can move it so that it aligns together with this. Let me do that again. So I know that this piece right here is already taken out by the 1 by 1 by 2 block, and I want to move it here. And it's very simple. All you're going to do is just move the side to go ahead and move it here, and then you're going to move this down right here to align it together. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. This is where a lot of people usually have trouble putting it in, because if I just do the same method that I just did, I have essentially ruined it, because it doesn't work that way. It involves one extra step. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this here. Now I know what you're asking, but Rico, shouldn't it go here? Well, if I did that, then I would just be ending up in the same place I was before, because I moved this thing also. So you want to do it on the side that on the opposite side, on this side. So what this does essentially is that I move this up here and I move this back, so that when I do a U2, I can see that if I move this back down, that free space has become an open slot for my bar. So let's go ahead and look at that one more time. So we can see right here that I'm gonna move this up here, right? And I see my white has been broken. And you can also see right here in back of it right here, the bar is waiting to be put in. By doing a U2, I not only make a free slot for it to come in, I have also aligned essentially I've aligned the 2 pieces together so that they can come down and create 2 centers. So now we have done our first 2 centers. And now we're going to continue on to doing the rest of the centers of the Rubik's Cube. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Let's go ahead and look around and see which side we're going to start with. It can be any side you want, but I'm just going to look around because I'm trying to save time here. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the blue side right here, because I already have 2 awesome good bars right here. So let's go ahead and look on this row right here on each side. Let's look on this row to see if we can see any edge pieces that we can use. And look, there is one we can use right here. So if I move it all the way to where the blue side is, I've created a blue bar. And we're going to move that vertically. On this side, when we're dealing with white and yellow, we basically have solved the two opposite sides, so a lot of the difficulties of inserting edges is gone. But now we kind of had to deal with a lot of the vertical side. So you always want to keep your bar vertical no matter what. And so lucky enough, I've actually made a bar by putting that thing inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an F so that I can put this vertically inside like that. And I've created almost my entire blue side. I just need to work on this part. And I already have my two sides right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this edge over here because this slot is open and I won't mess anything up if I move here. And so far I'm realizing right now that I can't do anything if this edge is here, so I have to move it up like this, vertically like that. Now, a really neat trick that you can do if your edge is right here and you have a solved side right here is what you can do is you can do an R, U prime, R prime. Now what that does is that it moves the corner up. It moves it to the correct place it would go if it were going down, and it breaks this a little bit so that when you move it back down, it saves this and it was able to pair the middle piece with the corner piece. And that's a really good strategy. Now let's go ahead and look around for our last piece. So I have the blue right here, and this place is free, which means I can move this up as much as I like. But I can see right here that if I move it up like this, then it's actually going to be down here. And if I try to move it like this, then this is the piece that's going to be covered, not this. So it doesn't work in this situation. So if that doesn't work, it means we're going to have to move the corner to the place where it needs to go. And since it's in the top right corner, we're going to move this to the top right corner by doing an F. And then I can align the pieces together like that. We've created our last bar, and we're going to go ahead and insert it properly like this. And now we have created three centers, the white, blue, and the yellow side. So let's go ahead and go to the orange side, which is the next one. You can go to red or orange, but you cannot go to green. You cannot do opposite centers when you start working on the non-white parts. So 5x5 method is included. You do the white center and then you do the opposite of that, and then when you work on the rest of them, you have to do next to them. You can't do opposites after that. The only opposites you can do is your first center and your second center. After that, they all have to be next to each other. So orange is next to blue, so I'm gonna go ahead and look for an edge piece, and this edge piece, if I put it down here, then it's going to create a bar, but I ended up moving this out of the way. So when you have a solved side at the bottom, you're going to want to perform this algorithm to put a lot of your pieces in. That's going to be an R prime, U, R. And what that did was, essentially, it put this piece inside, and then by moving it out of the way, and knowing that it's not going to damage any of my work on this side, I'm able to move it so that when I move it back up, it creates this blue edge, and I'm able to have my bar with me. So let's go ahead and look around. Okay, so I see this edge piece right here, and it's on the side, and by putting it there, it doesn't do anything. So you never want to have your edge pieces right here unless they're solved, and it's not solved. So we're going to move it vertically so it's pointing like this. Let's go ahead and look around. Okay, so I was originally going to solve this, but I see this better case right here. I see these two pieces are solved, and if I move this up, I solve that too. But now I have to worry about this thing. So every move I do going up like this damages this side now. So I have to be cautious about that all the time now. So let's go ahead and see what I can do here. If I move this up, I have moved this out of the way, and I can move it back down, but I'll separate the entire thing. So what if I put it in the exact same place the other edge is at? So if I do that, it won't mess anything up, and it just brings it even closer to the orange piece where I want it to go. Now once you have your bar like this, and you can't just put it in like that because it messes up your blue again. So what you're going to do is you're going to move it that way, and you're going to put it in right here, but you can see that you move this out of the way. So to put it back, you're going to want to slot like this, where you don't have any work done on that. So you're going to do a U2 where the bar is at. You move it up, and then you've essentially kept that, and you've worked on your progress here. So let's go ahead and see what we got next. Alright, so I know if I move this up here, I've got that. But now we come to a very interesting situation where the corner piece that's wrong is on the same side as the thing is that I can't just move this out of the way because then it'll mess up my entire work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way so that the corner piece is right here somewhere. I'm going to move it up, move it out of the way, and then move it down. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the algorithm again, and that's going to be an that would be in L prime U L. And what that does is that it allows for this piece to stay the same, it allows this to stay safe, and it moves the corner piece so that I can insert it in the proper position, which is this place right here. So what I'm going to do is to insert this, remember we're going to go ahead and move it this way. Remember we messed up our work a little bit. So we're going to want to move this out of the way so that this can come back up. And now we have our last bar, so we're going to move it down to where we want it to go. So you don't want to move it down here because then you wouldn't do anything. You would just be in an endless loop where it wouldn't work. So you're not going to put it in the place where you want it to go. You want to put it in the place you don't want it to go, which is here. So what you're going to do is and by doing that, what it does is, look at this, it does this. I put it in there. You can see the orange and the blue are mixed up, or they're not in their proper place. But if I do a U2, I can move both of them back in their same position. And then I can work on the last two centers. Alright, last two. I need some water, man. These tutorials, they can get pretty hefty sometimes. So once you have solved 4 of your centers, you're going to come down to the last 2 centers. Now the last 2 centers are actually one of the most difficult ones to solve, because then in the previous centers we had a lot of space to move around pieces, but now the more centers we solve, the limited number of spaces that the pieces can go. So you're going to want to do something called a commutator, or actually not even a commutator. You're going to want to move the pieces around a lot to get it to where you want it to go. So luckily enough, I have a bar right here for green, so I'm going to move it vertically like that. And what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to solve my green side first. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see an edge. Okay, so I see right here, if this edge right, if this corner piece goes right here, it's going to go right here if I move it up. It's going to line those two together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line this together with that. And just create this green bar. And and you can see I've ruined the orange and the blue. So I'm going to put this where the orange and blue are at, so when I move it down, it aligns with the green. And so I've solved 2 of these sides. Now it's the final row that's going to be tricky, because now I see that I have to mix this up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our edge this way, because I know if I move this up, it will align them together. So what you're going to do is you're going to align them together, and then you're going to do a U2, so that this edge right here goes down. And now we've actually come to a situation where essentially you have 2 pieces that don't need to go there, 2 pieces where they cannot go. And what you're going to do is you're going to do something called a commutator. Now a commutator is where you essentially swap pieces in their exact same position. So that's why these 2 need to be exactly in the same position. They have to be exactly mirrors of each other, these 2 centers. And so to do a commutator, you're going to want to move this middle layer right here towards the green, your desired slot. So I want these 2 to go down here, and I want this to go up here. So to do that, I'm going to move this green down here. And I know what you're going to say, I move that corner, it's going to be fun. Look at this. Next, you're going to want to move it in this direction to this direction. Now, why not this direction? Because you'll see right now. So I move the green down right here, and now I'm going to move it in this direction right here, so that the green is facing a section that has not been destroyed by the orange. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these 2 layers. These 2 layers, because it covers 2 slides, it has to be 2 layers. So I'm going to move those 2 all the way down there. And you're probably wondering, what am I doing? It looks really destroyed. I know what you're going to say, but look at this. This is where the magic comes in. I'm going to move this originally back where it was, so back here. And I'm going to move this up here. Now what I've done is that I've paired up all the sides correctly, so that when I move this back down, my green bar is done, my red bar is done, and all the centers are solved now. So let's go ahead and go through another last layer example, because I know that is a bit confusing, so I'm going to go through another layer example. Okay, so we're back here again, and we can see that we have another last 2 centers example right here. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're always going to start off by solving our bar right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and see what I can do from up here. Okay, so I see this edge piece right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the edge piece right here, move it out of the way so that when I bring this back up, it brings the orange up, and I have solved a bar, and everything is good to go so far. Now let's go ahead and look at this edge right here. Okay, so I see that I can move this piece right here, right there, and it aligns it a little bit, so I'm going to move it out of the way and move that back down. And it is useless when it's like this, so we're going to move it up all the time, our little bar right here. And I know if I move this up here, it's going to bring it together, but I ruined this. I've ruined the blue and the orange, so I'm going to move this where the blue and the orange are. So when I move it down, it allows for 2 bars to be solved, and then we're in this place again. So once again, we have 2 pieces we want to solve. You don't want to be like this, because it looks the same, but it's not. They're mirror cases. You want it exactly the same. So it has to be corner on the bottom left, corner on the bottom left, and we're going to perform the exact same thing again. We're going to move the piece where we want it to go. We're going to move it to this side now, not this side, because if we did the algorithm like that, then it would turn out to be like this. And that just, it scrambled everything. So we don't want to do that. So yeah, by doing it like that is going to end up destroying it, and you really don't want to do that when you're solving this puzzle. So let's go ahead and do it by moving this piece right here again. So not this way, the other way, like that. And then we're going to move this right down here. Why? Because what this essentially does is that it basically makes a new layer, so that when I move it back, it creates that layer that I'm looking for, and then I can easily just swap everything back to where it needs to go. So I'm going to go through that one more time. And this works for any piece, but it has to be exactly the same. So let's see, we have the red here, we want to switch these 2 pieces together, so what we're going to do is we're going to move the green where it wants to go, this time moving it this way. We're going to move it, the red down. We're going to move this piece back where it originally was, and we created a bar, and then we're going to move this where it was so that the green can go up, and then it essentially solves all the pieces. So I hope that kind of helped. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and I'll go ahead and answer any of your questions when doing the tutorial. So now we're going to go on to, I guess, the more easier part of the tutorial, which is going to be the edge pairing method. So this is going to be edge pairing now. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So we learned in the 4x4 tutorial that we usually paired up our edges together when we were trying to do edge orientation, as we learned during the 4x4. This is essentially the same concept in the 5x5, only this time we have actually 3 slots we have to figure out instead of just 2, and there is still parity for these slots. So I'll help you go through the parity algorithm if you don't know it. So I'll go ahead and help you out with that. But let's go ahead and see what we need to do in order to solve it. So let's go ahead and look at our cube. So what I usually do is I usually look for the pieces that have white and the pieces that have yellow. So I start off with the white pieces first. So let's go ahead and look around the cube. Okay, so you see right here, this is a blue and a white. So let's go ahead and look around the cube for another blue and white. And this is the most time-consuming part of the thing. Okay, so we can see here that this is actually able to go right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way, move this here, so that when I move it up, it essentially allows me to have this right here. And then I can move this way. Now, as you can see, I have actually mixed this up a little bit. I've moved everything out of the way. So when you pair something up like this, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do an R prime, and what that does is it moves it up here so that when I move this back, it doesn't ruin any of the work that I've done, essentially. So now that that's been solved, it's let's go ahead and work on another piece. So let's go ahead and see. Okay, so I see this white and green right here. So let's go ahead and see if there's any white and green. There's another white and green here. So if I move this way, as you can see, I have I have essentially paired them together, but I've created this weird vertical long thing. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to ignore that. I know it looks scrambled, but as long as you don't move anything else, and if I just do this, 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 and this, and this, don't panic, don't panic. Look, I can just pair it together again because I haven't moved anything. So I'm going to go ahead and pair this up again, right here, right here, right here. And I can see that actually, looking around the cube, let's see, okay, so the green edge is right here, and the place that we want it to go is actually right here. So you can see this needs to go here, but it can't go like that. You don't know how to make it go like that. It's very simple. You're gonna perform the same algorithm again, only this time you're gonna do a U prime. So it's gonna be R U prime R prime, and what that does is that it moves it down here so that this can come here and pair up with that piece right there. So now you can move it up to one of these top slots. You want to make sure that it's empty, because if you use this, you're going to take up the space, and then it's going to be down here again, and then it's going to be all scrambled up. So you want to make sure it's on an empty slot like this one right here. So you can take it up, you can move this down here, and do the algorithm again, R, U prime, R prime. So now what I did was I moved two of them up here, and then I can continue working. And it's alright if it's scrambled like this, if it's like not good, because what it does essentially is the RU R prime is that it's able to move the solved corner. It's able to move it up there while simultaneously keeping it solved. So if I line the colors together like this, it's still solved. All the sides are still solved. So it's good if it's fine. It's fine if it looks like this, guys, because it doesn't scramble it. It will just be partially scrambled, so that when you're done with all the edge pairing, you can just move it back to where it goes. So let's go ahead and look around for another white piece. So I see, oh cool, so I see red and white are already together. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and look for the edge piece that goes with it. This is orange and white, so no. Let me look up here. Okay, so I see it up here. Now if I do an RU R prime, it actually moves it up there, and I'm not able to pair it. So another variation of this is that the RU R prime doesn't work. You're gonna want to do a an L prime U L, and that what it does is that it actually doesn't even do anything there. And so what you're gonna do when you have something like this is you're gonna rotate it so that you're able to do the RU R prime motion. So it's like this. You're able to do R U R prime, and what that does is that it moves it right here so that you can pair them together. You can move it up, R U R prime, and it moves it up there, and everything is solved. Everything is good to go. So let's go ahead and look for another place in the middle right here. Let's go ahead and look. So I don't see any whites, but I see the white up here, so I'm going to do an R U R prime to move it down here. Let's see if there are any pieces. There aren't any pieces, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down here, because I know it's going to move like that down there. So if I go like this, R U prime R prime, then if I pair it up, it actually won't be the correct way. It has to go down here for it to work. So if R U R prime doesn't work, you're going to want to do an L prime U L, and then you can pair them up together like that. And I see this one right here. Now let's see if RU R prime works. It does work. So it pairs them up together, and then I can move this up here, make sure that there's an empty slot in RU R prime. And then we can look around for our next pieces. So I already have solved all 4 of the white edges. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means I'm going to work on my yellow pieces now. So the yellow pieces are the ones that I'm looking for. So let's go and look around. Okay. Cool. So I can see that this yellow and this yellow and orange are together, but they're kind of opposite each other. So this piece right here, when I put it in, is actually correct, and this piece isn't. So to move this down here, you're going to want to do an L U prime L prime, and what that does is that it's able for you to do an L R U R prime. And then you essentially have switched it, and then you can pair it up together like that, and then you can move it either up or down. I go up, so free space, And that's essentially what we've done. So let's go ahead and look around more. Okay. Okay. So I can see that there is that green and yellow, and this is also green and yellow. And if I pair them together like that, it's not actually going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an R prime, and then we're going to rotate it like this to do an L prime U L. And what that does is that it allows me to rotate it so it's able to be matched up correctly. And then I'm going to look for another piece, so I can see it's not up here. Let's go on this side. I see it, it's right there. So I've actually allowed it to come right here. So by doing that, I'm going to be able to pair it up. So I'm going to move it this way, since doing an RUR prime doesn't really do anything. It actually just makes it doesn't pair up correctly. So if RUR prime doesn't work, we're going to have to do L prime U prime L, and what that does is that it pairs it up just like that. Oh look, and we solved the center still. And we're going to go ahead and move it up, free space, RUR prime, and now we have essentially almost solved all the sides. So this is great, guys. Whew. Almost there, almost there. Bear with me, guys, bear with me. Get it? Bear with me, sorry. Alright. So I see this red right here can pair up with this red right here, and it cannot pair up with the blue because they're different colors. Just gonna look up. Okay, so there's the red right there. There's the red color right there, if you guys can see that. Yeah, there's the red right there. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and wait, let me turn on the light real quick because you guys can see a little bit more better. You guys can see a little bit more better than what we're doing. So we can see that there's your red and yellow right here, and it wants to go down here. So by doing the RUR prime method, it doesn't make it go down there. So we're gonna have to resort to doing our L prime U prime L, and it pairs them up together. And then we're able to put it into the very last slot. Now when you're working on the very last slot of any side on the top layer, so we see all these solved except for this side, you're gonna want to push it to a side that is solved, no empty slot. This time you're gonna put it on a slide that's used. So when you move it to it's able to go to that side now. Let's do that one more time. So when you have a P, you have a block that's solved, and you have this right here that's solved too, but this side isn't. You're gonna move it to the side that is solved, so that when you push this where the solved one was originally, it can move back down, and it will be able to stay solved, and I don't have to concern myself with this anymore because all of them are solved and I can't find any pieces from that side. So we're going to be looking up the whole time now. So you can see, okay, so look, our blue and our yellow are solved, but this isn't solved. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to pair them up by doing an RUR prime. That doesn't work. It actually forces this to be down here, and we don't want that down there. So we're going to go ahead and do our usual method, which is the L, which is going to be the L prime method. And what that does is that it allows me to put it here on this spot right here, and that's going to be the RUR prime, and that's going to be able to pair up here. And since this is the last piece also, we're going to put it where a slot is, where a solved side is. We're going to put it there. We're going to move it to where the solved side originally was, and then we're going to move it down. And then what it does is that it solves all the 4 pieces. So once we're done with all the edges on top and the bottom, we're going to want to do the ones in the middle, and for that we do need to align the colors together. So let's go ahead and look around. Okay, so what I can see here is that this right here can go up here. So since I can't actually do it diagonally, I can do it straight. So we're going to do the RUR prime, and then we're going to put it in by doing an L prime U prime L, and what that does is that it puts it like that. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take out one of these pieces right here, because you'll see it right now. So you're going to do R prime U prime R prime, and it's okay if that's there. So what we're going to do is we're going to pair them up, and what we've done is we messed up our blocks, and we're actually going to replace this because it's solved. I can replace it with one that isn't solved. So this side isn't solved, so I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna push this away, the one that's solved, and I'm gonna put this where it originally wasn't solved. So when I move it down, I've added that's solved, and I'm able to keep. Oh, and then we're gonna move this back where it originally was. So this is solved, and this is solved, and this is solved, and now we only have what looks like 2 more to go. So you're gonna want to always put them next to each other, and since this is in here, we're gonna do F2, and what that does is it pairs them up together, and then we're able to solve it. So let's go ahead and look. If I do that, then it's gonna be mixed up and it's not gonna be right. So this needs to be flipped. So to do that, you're gonna do you're gonna do your algorithm L prime U L, and then you're gonna do it again L prime U L, and you're gonna do it one more time. Oh no, yeah. And then after you do it another time, you're gonna do an R prime U prime R prime, and that's going to solve it and put it right here. But if I do that, then there's nothing on top or on the bottom or on the side that I can use to replace that piece. So what you're gonna do for this side is you're gonna do an algorithm. Now this is the exact same algorithm that we use on this one. It's actually this one. See how these two are flipped? So it is essentially the same algorithm that we use on the 4x4. But instead, this time it's these two pieces that are going to be switching. It's going to be this one and this one, so that it's able to be solved. So let's go ahead and do the algorithm. Okay, so after performing the algorithm, you can see that we have solved this piece right here. And now we can continue to solving this piece right here. So we're going to go ahead and do the algorithm one more time because it flips these two together, and that's what we want, to flip this and to flip this so that this can be solved and this can stay over here. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And what we've done by flipping those two together, we only have to swap these two left, and we can't do it like that. They have to be on the same layer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our L U prime L prime, and then we're gonna flip it this way so we can do an R U R prime, and that's going to go ahead and push this right here and right here together. So we can do it one more time, that same algorithm, to swap these two together and solve all edges. So let's go ahead and do that. Just like that, all edges are solved. So the final step in solving the 5x5 is essentially what we have done is we've turned this entire 5x5 into a big Rubik's Cube. A 3x3, a regular 3x3. And what I mean by that is, look at this. This whole thing is this whole thing right here, this center. This center is this whole thing. This edge is these three, and these corners are these two corners right here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 3 by 1, 2, 3. So it's essentially created a 3x3. And since I recommended that you guys learn how to solve a 3x3 before going on to this, I'm assuming you know how to solve it. So we're going to go ahead and solve it our regular way. So let's go ahead and solve it the right way, making our white cross at the bottom is what you're going to want to try to do. So after you do your white cross, you're going to work on F2L, which is just putting in the two slots. And after 3x3 stage, your 5x5 Rubik's Cube is solved, finally. Woo. Well guys, that was definitely a very, very, very excruciating process, but if you went through all of it like I did, then your 5x5 Rubik's Cube is solved. You can put this on the shelf and you will never ever have to touch this goddamn cubic can because it causes me so much problem. So I'm glad that you guys were able to solve your 5x5 Rubik's Cube. And I hope that this video totally helped you out. And if it didn't, well, I tried my best. So please, please, please bear with me because this is pretty complicated stuff to talk about. Come on. But yeah, I hope this guide helped you out. And I really hope that you guys learn how to solve your 5x5 Rubik's Cube. Unlike that 1x1, that was pretty difficult. So I hope you liked this video. Give it a like and you know, send me a pic of your 5x5 solve. Until then, I'll see you in my next video. Peace out, guys.